Thank you for downloading this episode of the Nerd Ball Podcast. I am your host, Lorenzo, as I'm sure all of you are aware. But if you're new, that's who I am. I'm Lorenzo. I'm the one who speaks all the time, sometimes too much at the beginnings and endings, and sometimes too much in the middle during the actual podcast. But I love doing it, and I love all of you for listening, downloading, subscribing, sharing, all that kind of stuff, interacting with the podcast. It's a lot of fun, and you guys make it more fun. And sometimes I get emails, and that also makes me feel famous somewhat. So I appreciate you all. There's really nothing new to share besides I'm coming up on 200 episodes, which is pretty exciting. So I don't know what else to share besides this episode was great. It was two guests on this one. A good conversation style podcast. Questions were asked by everyone. Stories were shared. So it was a good one. It was a good episode. Again, if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'd be great. I think I got 124 subscribers now, which, and to be honest, I mean, it's not a lot in the world of YouTube, but I'm pretty excited about it because I would have never thought that I would have this many subscribers to a podcast page. So I'm excited there. I'm trying to get more like listeners, subscribers, downloads, because I would like to start a Patreon at some point, but I feel like I got to get to a certain level before I start saying, hey, for $1 a month, you can get this extra thing. And also, I don't even know what this extra thing is. Also, November, I believe it's November 22nd. Let me check the date here. Yes, Wednesday, November 22nd, the Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, I will be doing a comedy show at Levi and Lilac. I am looking forward to that. I would be doing it with multiple other comedians, and then hopefully ending the night with dad jokes told with another friend of mine, Matt Killam, from we used to do the Metro Parks podcast together. So November 22nd, details will be out shortly, so be looking forward to that. And yeah, again, I appreciate everyone on here. You guys are helping this podcast grow, and I couldn't do it without you. So without further ado, here are my guests.
This is Sara Cannon.
And this is Brian Cannon, and this is the Nerd Ball Podcast.
This is the Nerd Ball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
Perfect. All right. Thank you both for being on the podcast tonight.
No problem, bud.
Sara, you were on pretty early. I'm almost at 200 episodes, and I think you had to be, I don't know, within the first 10, maybe something like that.
I think I was. And then I gave you a really hard time for not asking me back.
But here you are.
And here I am.
100 and some episodes later.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, you have never been on, so thank you for wanting to come on. I'm excited. It's a bit different, I feel like, than the first time you were on, Sara. It's some of the same stuff, but I've gotten way better at interviewing people, so hopefully that comes over. Now that I said that, I'm probably going to sound like an idiot this whole time during this
It
podcast.
has a whole different like vibe to it. Like being on just on a computer screen versus like in person in your garage.
Yeah, I like in person, but now that I do video also, Zoom video takes me about 15 minutes to edit, and in-person video takes me about an hour or as long as the podcast is. So I just don't have the capacity right now. So after football, I'm hoping I can go back to that, but I also need a place to do it. So we'll see that too. I used to do it at that CrossFit studio, and I stopped doing it there. So we'll see what happens. So I do much rather be in person, but this is better than nothing. So
yeah.
So the question I always ask everyone, and you can both take your turns, is what is something you've been into lately? Something you nerd out about, something that gets you away from the daily grind of your jobs, something that you either you do by yourself or you do together or you do with other people, but just something that hobby, if it's cooking, books, well, whatever. So something that that's like your own thing, or like I said, if it is a hobby or something you guys share.
Well, with us, I'm not even sure, like, who are you?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just so on the go with chasing kids around and our jobs and things of that sort. Now that I guess summer's winding down and there's no more golf, I guess I would say gambling on football. I mean, Right.
Now,
That's him though. I
Yeah.
don't gamble.
That's right.
You're a liar.
If I lose $20, I'm like, I'm done.
Oh
Yeah.
crap! You were the first one I invested in, giving like the $200 referral from DraftKings.
I know.
Jumped on it.
And then once I lost all that money, I haven't gotten back into it.
That's how I am. Like I'll play for a little bit. I'll put in, $50.
Mhm.
It might $50 might last me 6 months, and then I won't go back for a few months, and then eventually I'll go and do it. But Brian, when do you do like is it any football? College,
and
pro? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So do you have particular things or particular teams, or you just like, I don't know how
Oh
deep
God,
you are
no!
into this
I
thing.
follow somebody and I just do what he tells me to do.
Oh, really?
I'm smart enough, and I don't have the time to invest in it.
Okay.
But I'm like you. It's nothing going to be earth shattering. It's nothing I'm trying to make a living at. It's just
Like
With
an
fun
interest
just
piece.
interest where
Yeah.
I love sports. We have a hard time. I mean, we actually both love watching sports,
Mhm.
and it kind of gives you just an interest of a game that you might not really care about, or something, just to have a few dollars in it. Like I said, it's nothing that's going to break the bank or pay for kids' college or anything like that. But it's just something to do now that you're getting to the point where you're getting stuck inside a little bit.
Well, it's like how, when people play fantasy sports, it just adds, like you said, you might watch a game between these two teams that you do not care about, but you have $10 on one of the teams, and
Yep.
you want to root for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing, Lorenzo, I have to tell you is no one ever calls him Brian.
Yeah.
So
No.
people like, I
BC.
told people that BC was coming on this tonight. So they are really looking forward to hearing this. So
Okay.
you have to make sure that you call him BC and not Brian, because like, who's Brian?
And how long has that been your whole life, BC?
Yeah, that started when I was 11. So I played baseball growing up from day one, and we had 4 infielders, and all of our names were Brian.
Okay.
And so you had a Brian Glass, a Brian Mahoney, a Brian Geesting, and myself. And of course, anytime the coaches said Brian, you got 4 of us looking at them. And so everybody just kind of got little nicknames, mostly just based off their names, and BC just was mine, and it has stuck. The only person that really calls me Brian is my mother. My dad calls me B, and everybody else for the most part calls me BC, or who knows what she's called me what day it is, but
So nicknames are always like, I'm hesitant on calling people nicknames because they can be like a personable thing. So like, if obviously BC is like widely used by a bunch of people. But there are
they're all wrong. It's just me. But we'll
no, I'm saying like when people refer to you, that's how they refer to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that one's a little easier, but like my nickname, I have a handful of friends that call me that, and no one pays attention to it, and it's not something that's out there all the time. So that's why nicknames are always like, plus I don't know what it is. I love full names. And now Brian and Sara don't really lend to that, but I have a supervisor that I work with. His name is Zach, and I always call him Zachary. And I don't know why, like, it's just something I like to do. So I always make sure like I ask people, well, first of all, names are super important to me. And I want people to tell me what they want to be called. Or I tell kids that when I used to coach junior high track, there was one time I went almost half the season, I was calling this girl by the wrong name, and she never corrected me. And I'm like, that's like the first thing you're how you introduce to people. You have to correct people on that kind of stuff. So I will refrain from.
It's your podcast. You get to do whatever you want to do.
Well, I'll refrain from Brian and stick with BC. I don't want to.
Nobody's going to have it. You're going to call me Brian. Nobody's going to have a clue who you're talking to. They're going to think she's having an affair if you can't call me Brian.
Well, the good thing is this is also on YouTube, so people at least can see you. So
there we go.
Great. Okay, yeah. I gotta watch my language and be a little professional.
Nah, you're good. I make $0. So there's nothing to be demonetized. So this thing costs me money every time I do one. So we're good there. Plus, people have asked me that too, like, what about cussing or this or that? And I want people to not have to think about that kind of stuff. Like just be you, and that's how you talk. Then that's how I want you to talk. So. Sara, what about you? What do you use to like get away or like just a little hobby or something?
Gosh, I think, I mean, volleyball is my outlet, as you already know. I mean,
Mhm.
this is my 20th year coaching. It's really my time to just turn off the day. And when I step out onto the court with the girls, it's definitely my time to just, okay, I'm in my element and I love it. And then when I get home, sometimes of what happens on the court carries over to home. But and I think it's just because I'm so passionate about it and I'm passionate about the girls, but other than that, I don't I don't know. I mean, he's trying to get me into golfing. I'm
That is so
trying
hard.
to learn the game. I am very frustrated with that game.
She's got the lingo down.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you trying to learn to golf. Like,
Oh, it's
'cause it's so
awful.
like it's frustrating for me, but I also do not care. Like, I used to golf a little bit after college, and I'm terrible, but I still had fun. I knew I was terrible, and I didn't care to be better. Like, it didn't bother me that I was bad at it.
Yeah.
Lorenzo, we play in a golf scramble once a year. Me and her, and then a friends of ours, and him and his wife. And the first tee, she'll swing and miss, or she'll duff one or whatever. And she goes, "Why am I not even good at this? Like, I don't understand."
Sounds right.
I'm like, and then she's gripping the club, and it's like bleep, bleep, bleep. And I'm like, honey, you play once a year. You don't practice, you don't do nothing. And then I try to relate it back to, like, what would your volleyball girls be like? But it doesn't matter. But this is me. And it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And then she looks at me and she goes, "Well, can you teach me?" And I'm like, "No, I can't. I do not have that kind of patience. I
You
just
need a
don't."
separate. Yeah, you need a
I
separate
just-
person.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, when you've been able to play multiple sports growing up, and then when you find a game and that you want to learn, and you're like, I know I have hand-eye coordination.
Mhm.
Why can't I hit the ball? Why? And when I do hit the ball, why is it going that way? I don't know.
All sports are different, and you use
Yeah.
different. I mean, you both of you are well versed, and we all want athletes to make sure they're playing different sports every season, and
Yeah.
that's why. Like, golf is, if you're uber competitive, golf is the worst sport for you to try to
Correct.
do, because
Yes.
you're never going to be good enough for your own brain, and it's going to be terrible. And that's why, like I said, I know I'm terrible, and I'll still go to the driving range. I have fun, and we'll hang out with my friends and that kind of stuff. But I'm cool with sucking. So
And we're teaching our kids. Our boys are 15 and Leia's now at the junior high, and the boys really enjoy golf. So he's kind of using it as a, you know what, you guys are going to have to probably know how to play this game at some point in your life, whether it's, for business or, for whatever reason, or, going out with the guys. And there's probably going to come a time where you're going to have to know at least somewhat of what you're doing. And it's so funny because when he was first teaching Carter, AKA Carter, how to play the game of golf, he is so me.
oh my gosh.
It's twins.
And I said to Carter, I go, I'm sorry. It's just me. I pass it on to you.
Well, I mean, it goes all the way back to when they were like 7, 8, and he was 7, 8 years old, and we go out, try to play pig or horse.
Yes.
And he would miss one and he get frustrated. And next thing you know, he has the first letter, and then she gets a letter, and she's acting the same way, but she's mad at him for acting just like she acts. And I'm like, how can you be mad at him? Because he's getting it from you. And, and that's why we could only play the pig, because by the time if we played the horse, they were in a fight because it's too many letters.
Do you find, like, as your kids are getting older, that either, like one of them is like your personality or your wife's personality? Like, are you finding that out?
So Mateo's super chill. I mean, me and Andrea are both super chill, and Mateo's that way. Like, doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. When he does, like, it's like, okay, something's going on here. Like, it's like a trigger for us to really try to ask questions and figure out, why you're in bed crying. What happened. That kind of stuff. Lillian is nobody. She is an alien. She is her own personality. I don't know what she is, but she is out there. And it's so hard to parent that when one day it's good, that whatever you did was good, and next day you did that same thing and now it's bad. And I don't know how to parent that. And
Nobody does.
No.
we tend to take turns, Andrea and I. Like, I know if she's dealing with Lillian and she's upset, I've learned to not try to help. Like, just let them deal with it. And then if Andrea needs me, then I'll go in there. Same thing. Like, if I'm dealing with Lillian and she's just not listening or just being crazy, and I'll deal with it. And then the one other, whoever's not dealing with her, will come after the fact and try to and console her and everything. And so we both do both roles, so it's not just one person.
Mhm.
But it's hard. It's very difficult, and she's only 9, so like, I'm terrified.
Oh, it's going to get so much more fun.
I know.
Way
I'm so
better.
Mhm.
I'm
Way
so
better.
terrified of my 9-year-old.
Who would ever thought a grown man be terrified of a
Oh,
9-year-old little bully? And
Oh, my
that's
God.
what they are.
Yeah, and we try to, and I always talk to other parents about it. Like, the kids are going to express their emotions more at home because that's where they're comfortable.
Yep.
Like,
Absolutely.
I'd much rather parents tell me, "Oh, your kid is great over here. They're the best. We love them," or the school says the same thing. And most parents are like, "Man, I wish you would do that here," which I agree, but I understand when they're at home, their emotions are way open, and they're comfortable, and that's what I want our house to be comfortable for them.
100%.
So I'd much rather be dealing with it here and then have parents tell me how good my kids are when they're at their friend's house.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's I don't know what's going to happen, but she's,
Well, you never do, and that's the whole fun part of it.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the fun part of the whole thing. It truly is.
She's going to be like my
You knew what was
sister.
going to happen. Would you want to go down? Would you want to go down the road anyways? Then, if you knew what was going to happen.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's part of the whole fun part of the journey of
Yeah.
this whole mess of life.
Mhm.
You wake up and you don't know what's going to happen, and that's one of the main reasons I left teaching phys ed and went into administration was the monotony of teaching the class and kind of doing the same thing day in and day out or whatever. I was getting too bored with it, and I like waking up for the most part knowing that I really don't know what's going to happen that day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's fun for me. I'm not like for her, she has to have everything planned. It has to be everything has to be. I mean, we'll wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by 5:05, she's asking me what we're having for dinner tonight. I'm like, I don't like, and
That's funny.
It's true. She
Yeah.
likes it. It's true.
It so is.
But for me, I'm just like, oh, whatever, we'll figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it, and that's why we got cell phones and text. I mean, nowadays it's easy,
Mhm.
but that's one of the things that I enjoy about the kids. We're kind of getting in that goofy age where they're starting to leave us to get their own lives. I mean, we got 2 15-year-old boys who are freshmen that are, they're going to high school homecomings and volleyball games and football games. And then Leah's chasing around her friends at football games and things. And they're not as needing of us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird feeling because on one hand, it's kind of cool because we have the freedom to kind of get up and go out to dinner by ourselves if we want.
Mhm.
And we don't have to worry about our kids. We can wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning and go run the grocery stores, and I don't have to worry about my kids sleeping or, those things. But then on the flip side, you're like, man, it's like kind of crazy that's coming to an end. as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and so, but exciting at the same point because we raised them to fly the nest to begin with,
Mhm.
and but it doesn't get any easier, but I hate to tell you it doesn't.
Oh no, I know.
But it's fun.
I know I've said it on the podcast before, but I love it. There's on Modern Family, Ed O'Neill's character is talking about, because I think it's towards the end when they're all getting older, and he just talks about when they have a newborn, you're there with the newborn and it's crying, you got to feed it at night, and then it seems overnight that newborn's gone, and now there's a toddler, and the toddler's running around, and you still got to help get its food and change the diaper, and then overnight now the toddler's older and not quite a teenager, but now they're doing stuff on their own, and then overnight they become a teenager, and on. But he says it's not that bad when one leaves, because there's another one coming right after it. He goes, but then at some point they all leave at the same time and there's nothing left.
Yeah.
And that's what got me thinking when you're talking about like these little steps that our kids are taking, and it seems so slow, and they're there and then they're not there. And it's like, man, I joke about it with Andrew all the time. Like, man, we're not even going to be 50 and both our kids are going to be out of high school. And and I joke with like Mateo's in 6th grade, Andrea. He's only has so many years left, and but I'm just gonna be as ripped up about it as she is.
Absolutely.
It's just,
Well, I joke all the time, like I joke about my kids having like already got their suitcases packed.
Yeah.
And get out and her and I were at Myers the other day, and we got talking. I go,
oh yeah,
as we start, getting older, I mean, I'm closer to 50 than I am 45, and I now understand kind of what grandparents always talk about of the enjoyment of being a grandparent, because they've already went through the stressors of what we are going through as parents. They've already gone through all the diapers and the toddler phases and everything like that. Now they just get to sit back and enjoy it without the stressors. Mm-hmm. And now it kind of started to make sense for me of why the grandparents get to now be, I guess, the fun part of all of it, and get to kind of sit back on the second round and enjoy those things, and not, I guess, wish them through it to some point. Because at some point we're all like, man, I cannot wait to stop changing diapers, or man, I cannot wait to, for that next step. And then before you know it, the next step is gone, and you're like, oh, and so.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, no diaper step, one of the best steps.
Oh, for sure. For sure. The sad part is I think I'm getting closer to the diapers than they are more. So it's like pretty soon she's going to be back to changing them here soon.
Oh, that's what my dad always says too. I said, Dad, I'm gonna let you rot in that diaper. I ain't changing it. You got a daughter who's a nurse, and she can do that stuff. So
depending on what game is on, it might not be such a bad thing.
I'll watch sports with him, and then I'll just ring the bell when he needs to be changed.
Exactly. Yep. I'll just sit there in my own diaper and just ring it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Perfectly normal, I think. Perfectly normal behavior. Just want to sit in your own filth. That's all right. Yeah, my plan is, my in-laws live 3 houses down from us, and my parents live in Perrysburg too. But my plan is, and I don't know if anybody else would go for it, but when they all get too old that they need someone to take care of them, I'm going to put all 4 of them in that house down the street. There's a living room, a full bath, and a bed in the basement, and then someone else can be upstairs, and they can mingle in the middle where the kitchen is. We can hire one person to take care of all 4 of them, and then they're just right there.
There you go.
There you go.
They don't have to see each other if they don't want to.
Yeah. Easy.
Yeah.
And they got company and everything like that. It's a piece of cake.
Yeah. And every once in a while, I'll tell the kids to make sure you stop by your grandparents' house, and they're all there. Just poke your head in. All 4 of them will be there to say hello.
There you go. Absolutely.
That was my favorite thing. My grandma lived with my parents last 10 years of her life, and it was the coolest thing that my kids got to see their great grandma. Like every weekend we'd go over there and eat, and they're little kids, and old people are weird sometimes. So they'd go up there and say hello real quick, and she'd give them an old person wet kiss, and they'd be out of there. But she loved it. She loved every second of it. And I was so glad that they were able to do that. That's what I want to be. I always ask Andrea, like, do you ever see us moving anywhere? And she's like, I don't know. As long as the kids are around here, I don't want to move anywhere. I said, yeah, me neither. I want to like be involved as much as my parents and in-laws are involved.
We kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of me that wants to like go somewhere, but I can't fathom like not being around.
Right.
Well, we've thought I've wanted to move. I would love to move to Arizona. She wants to move to like Carolinas or Tennessee.
Mhm.
So we've kind of compromised, and we'll probably end up in the Carolinas or Tennessee.
I thought you said we compromise and we will probably stay in Ohio.
Yeah, no, we'll grow wherever she tells me that I have to.
That's how it works.
But I'm with you. It's a lot
right.
of it is going to depend on the kids. See, because I grew up in Cincinnati, and my parents have not got to see the grandkids a whole lot. They get to see them 2-3 times, maybe a year, and I mean, one day you see them and they're up to their shoulders, and the next time you go see them, and my kids are taller than all of them, and they're just, what happened, and they don't get to see many ball games or things of that sort, because even though people think like, well, Cincinnati's not that far away, well, it's 3 hours, and it's just far enough to be a hassle, and where you have to kind of make it, you turn it into a one, two kind of.
It's got to be a weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you have to get hotels, and of course everything with everything's more expensive, and it just becomes tougher, and obviously they're getting older, they don't want to drive at night and things, so but like I said, when you're gone, it does make a big difference. That's for sure. And they're like 3 hours.
And with kids, when is there a weekend? You know what I mean? They're always doing something, right? Somewhere something.
Well, then on your end, it's a pain in the butt to travel with them, because you almost had it. And again, I mean, I'm sure, my parents would say, all I gave you was a stick and a piece of gum, and you were satisfied all weekend, but now, you almost have to, you feel back, when you're like lugging the entire house with you for a weekend, so, but
yeah.
Sarah, how did your volleyball season end up this year? And you're I know for a while maybe it was a year or two that you were coaching both teams, but you're not doing that anymore, are you?
No, so this will be my third year. I'm sorry, no, my second year. Maybe my third, not having to do both teams. So my the 8th grade team did very, very well. Overall, we were 13-5.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if I'm doing the math correctly in my head. An amazing, talented group. I mean, in terms of being able to run the faster tempo plays, this group was definitely able to do that. We were a little disappointed in getting knocked out in tournament. But we played Finley, and as anybody in sports knows, anything can happen in tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to bring it. And they definitely were a little bit more aggressive in terms of their offense than we were. And it showed. But overall, great group of girls. I'm very excited to see what they are capable of and see them at the next level. The 7th grade group did very, very well. 20-0.
Oh, wow.
NLL champions.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, both groups, very, very talented group of girls.
You get the unique perspective of coaching, or at least seeing the girls coaching one of the grades, but seeing them for 2 years play volleyball. And then you get to see them play 4 years in high school if they choose to play volleyball in high school.
Yes.
For me, it's like we're varsity football, and then the end is the end. And there's, 1 or 2 or 3, if we're lucky, that go to play college. But like, I kind of envy you, because you get to see like, oh, I remember when she was in 7th grade or 8th grade, and now they're seniors and they're winning district titles and like all this stuff. And it's cool to see that part.
And it's funny because I keep all of my pictures, and like I still have pictures of Lydia Steyer, who is our varsity setter. And she came and watched the girls one night. And I said to her, I go, you remember this? And how teeny tiny she was in the 7th grade, and look at her now. And it's crazy to see how much they grow in the game. It's really fun to see.
Yeah. How much do you try to get them to come back? Like, do you ever like ask them like, hey, come watch this game or come hang out, or do you try to reach out to them at all?
You know what? Laura does a really good job in bringing the girls down. And at least trying to see one match throughout the season. We kind of always have had that tradition. with the new league, we obviously now have increased our number of matches. So we had, what was it, like 3 or 4 weeks in a row, I had 3 matches every single week.
Wow.
And so that really limited my girls to be able to go see them. So, but my girls were really good about kind of planning it on their own and heading over to the high school to see the girls play. Even though we weren't able to do it collectively as a group, we always try to make that happen so they can see each other play.
Did you notice the difference in competition being in a new league?
Yeah, actually, I will say yes. So, it always seems to be us and Anthony Wayne for the past, I can't tell you how many years in the NLL championship. But this year, Fremont, they brought it. Very good program. Finley gave us some competition. I mean, I will say it's definitely more competitive than what we had in the past few years. Most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like that in all sports. Is like Perrysburg, Anthony Wayne, Perrysburg, Anthony Wayne. Now with these other Division I programs, it is going to obviously help everybody.
Yeah.
But it's going to be harder to win championships.
Yeah.
Which is
Do you
good.
see that in the football, like your end in football too?
Yeah, considering we lost to the all 3 Division I teams that we played, or the 2 Division I teams and Anthony Wayne. Yeah, I mean, we could have easily won the first time we played Whitmer and easily won that one. We made big mistakes, and we can't. This team can't afford to make mistakes. We can afford to not play perfect, but we got to play pretty close to perfect. And same with Anthony Wayne. Like we made big mistakes, and we get tired down the stretch. But it's just how this team is constructed right now. It's the way it is. In the next few years, it's going to be different. I mean, freshman, 8th grade, 7th grade all had over 50 kids in their team. Freshman will probably get knocked down to 40, but that's still a big sophomore class. So we are going to get more kids, and it is going to be more like a Division I program, and hopefully we can keep getting those number of kids to come out. But yeah, definitely the type of competition, this more competition is definitely needed, especially for us in playoffs and computer points and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I like it. It makes a lot more games more meaningful, as opposed to we're gonna play our first maybe 2 games are tough because it's out of conference, and one was always Finley, one was always Whitmer, and then we waited until we played Anthony Wayne, and that was about it. So it makes it we definitely as coaches got to work harder, and it's more fun this way, when games aren't blowouts all the time. As much as my dad enjoys watching blowouts because he doesn't get as nervous, I'd much rather it be these close games because they are more fun, more exciting. I should say. I
agree 100%.
Yeah, the blowouts are more fun. These tight games are more exciting. So but I like it. BC, do you go to any of her matches? Watch any of the volleyball?
Leah is on the 7th grade team. Okay. So I try to make as many games as I could. So Tyler plays freshman football at Maumee. So between, I work the principal out in Clyde, so I'm an hour away. And so he played on Mondays, and then she would have games on Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. And then Carter was playing football at the time, and he was there on Thursdays. And so I was somewhere during the week. It just kind of depended on, I try to go see the boys a little bit, I guess, more frequent, because at least Leah had her there, somebody there to support her. So then I would try to go see the boys. And then also knowing like the boys only played 1 game. Like, so like on Monday, they only had 1 game. Well, she might have a game on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Wednesday, and I could go see her on those days. So I wouldn't go on Monday, and it's just the juggling, when you got 3 and you're 2, but I think I probably saw, I bet you I saw at least probably 8-10 matches probably of all of them. And I went to the tournament and stuff like that.
Lorenzo,
Oh no.
and I'm saying they, meaning BC and those that sit near him.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let's make this very clear, Lorenzo. When I go to any of the sporting events, I don't sit near anybody. I want to be as far away from any adult interactions as possible. I want to go sit by myself.
Yeah.
Now, I get there and I'm sitting there. Now, sometimes people come sit by me, which obviously it's the complete opposite of who I am. I'm a very social guy. Things of that sort. But when you'll see me at a game, you're like, why is he like over there?
Yeah.
It's just I want to be left alone
and
Yeah.
just watch.
Yeah.
And especially like with her coaching and my daughter was playing, I don't want to be I don't want to be earshot of something that I don't want to hear, or if it's taken the wrong way, or I don't want to do that. I've, as a principal and a coach for so many years, I just want to watch and be dad or be husband for a minute. And it was funny because she looked at me like, hey, she goes, man, I was just thinking, I looked up at the stands the other day and I saw you there and I'm like, man, it is really cool that you've been to so many of my games. And then she goes, then I realized that Leah plays and you're not here to see me. I'm like, that's true,
I was going to ask you, from your point of view, when you see her coach, like what do you notice or what stands out to you?
I should pull up a picture.
If I blink once, I need help. Okay.
I say good, bad, funny, whatever.
Well, the thing is, she's always been very passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell her all the time, because one of the things is in education as a coach, we know it, that we are our worst critics.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have, whether, like you just said, you go 7-3 in the regular season, and I guarantee the 3 losses are the 3 that you keep thinking about.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yeah.
not the 7 wins, it's the 3 losses. And it's the same thing with her. And again, vice versa. And it could be one kid, you think about that one kid, other than, maybe you help 20 kids, but the one kid just eats at you, and so she's always had that. And one of the things that's always been really cool is watching, because guys are different. Like I never really had like guys in school always coming up to you and coming up to me like, hey, da 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 da. They're just different. Girls all the time, they're texting her happy birthday, and they do things, and it's cool to watch those relationships continue. As a coach, she scares the shit out of me. She does. I mean, she terrifies me. The worst feeling I've ever had in my entire life, Lorenzo, this is God's honest truth, was this year. I have been in some situations that this one was the worst. I had to line judge one of her.
Oh no.
Yes. And
wait, so why would you agree to that?
I first of all, there's no agreement.
Oh, I would have left. I would have left.
Because I have to be the parent.
Oh,
I have to be the parent of Leah. So then, because she can't do it. So now I'm the parent of Leah. So then you have to do like your duties.
Yeah. Okay.
They signed
I'd have worked the concession stand.
Well, I got one. Again, did I tell you earlier about the compromises? She just tells me where I'm going, dude. How long you've known her?
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Like, I mean, are you shocked by any of this?
No, I am not.
And so
no, I'm terrified of her. I get it.
Oh, absolutely. And so, like, I get this red flag, and the other parent that I'm with, I know, she goes, well, do you want this line or the other line? And I'm like, the other line. That line's right next to her. I'm like, I'm going way over there.
Yeah.
So I'm over there, and sure enough, I think it might have been like Springfield game or something of that sort. It's close.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in that corner shivering, going like, oh my God. Like, if this ball comes anywhere close to this line, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I have the ethics, I gotta call it.
Yeah.
But I'm also like afraid to end up in a ditch with a toe tag too, And I was petrified, and thank God no ball came close. And I'm like, I'm sweating bullets.
You lucked out.
Oh man, I'm sweating bullets over there. I'm just like, I got a black shirt and just pit stained, and I was freaking out, man. Scariest moment of my life by far.
That's terrifying.
But she, she cares about kids.
Mm-hmm.
And as an administrator, I tell my teachers all the time, and I try to reiterate to her, as a coach, whatever it might be. If you make any mistake, because you're going to do it, you're going to do it. We all are.
Mhm.
But if you make them with the kid's best interests at heart, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like I said, I mean, that's where like I said, I'm proud of her for how much she dedicates her time and effort. And as well as anybody, as long as you've been coaching, it's not about the money. I mean, by the time you get done getting taxes taken out of it, you're making like 14 cents an hour.
Yeah.
It's just about the enjoyment of the game. It's about being passionate about the game and wanting to share your passions with other people and then try to have a positive impact on them
Mhm.
in some way in their life. And she's done that for 20 years. And there's not many people that can say they've coached one sport at one place for 20 years.
It's a long time.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, that's a long time. I do remember seeing that. I think junior high track, to me, junior high track was a little more relaxed.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, but so there was a lot more fun had. I did enjoy it, but once I became a varsity football coach, I just wanted to focus on that. But it was a fun thing to do. But I did like, because our throwing practice it was so short. Like, you only can throw so many times, and so then I would go and check out the other coaches, or especially during meets, we'd be done and they'd still be running and stuff, and seeing all the other coaches and Sarah, like, how they coach. I'm so fascinated by how other coaches coach. Like, I just like picking up things. That's why I did basketball last winter. I did girls basketball, and part of it is I would just want to coach. It's fun, but another part of it is like seeing Coach Sims be a head coach, and DeMars, and at the time it was Lexi Marshall who I coached with. Like, seeing other people coach is really fun to me, and trying to because everybody has a little self-doubt. I was like, okay, well, am I doing it right, or is that person doing it right, or how do we do it? And I guess however we coach, and I think that's the right way to do it. It's the right way for us. I was on Inside the Hive podcast. I recorded that yesterday. I don't know when it's coming out, but I recorded it yesterday. And one of the questions, so Gray went into the locker room and asked a bunch of football players, like, hey, what questions do you want to ask Melcher? So one of the questions was real simple. It was, Coach Melcher, why are you so nice to us? And that was the question. And I had to think about it, because I don't necessarily think like I'm being nice. It's just who I am. But I'd much rather, whatever that position is, I'd much rather be, when you classify coaches, I'm definitely a player's coach, 100%. I couldn't be more than a player's coach, and more than I am now. Like, and that's what I do. And apparently this kid noticed that, and other kids noticed that too. Is like, I just talk to them more, I think, than any other coaches. And it's no fault of anyone. Maybe I talk to them too much. Maybe the other coaches don't talk to them enough. But that's just how I am and how I want to relate to them.
Yeah.
And I have fun doing it. And that's why I said I play Fortnite with them. When they want to play video games, we play video games together, and that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of things I like to do. And I don't know what that right now, that position is a tight ends coach who likes to talk to his players, but I don't know what it's going to morph into in the future. But that's what I like. But to speak back to Sarah, like, I enjoyed watching her coach and how she talks to the kids, especially because you had more relationship with them because you were their teacher, or some of them anyway.
Yeah.
Which
your role is going to morph depending on what role you take on as a coach. I mean, you might not be able to be the coach you are now if you're the head coach. As an assistant principal, I had a role, and then as the principal, now you kind of have to morph that role, because there's these balances and things of that sort. And as the situation you're in, as you continue to grow in your career and do different things, and whether it's different sports as well, there's no way that you can treat you're not going to treat your football players the same way as you're going to treat, if you were coaching, let's say, 7th grade girls basketball. There's just, you have to, and I think that's the cool part about teaching and coaching, is just that you have to think on your feet, and you have to be you, because you have to be genuine. Because as soon as you're not genuine, they know it. And then what, like you said, you're building those relationships with the kids, and that's the biggest part of it all, because I don't know if you're there yet. I know I am. Because I mean, I coached at Perrysburg I started coaching at Perrysburg in 2000.
Mhm.
And a lot of my players, I mean, you bring up Lexi Marshall. Lexi Marshall was my student,
Yeah.
and so now watching her and Ben have kids of their own, that goes beyond, anything. Because now you're watching them turn into adults and fathers and mothers and
Yeah.
stuff of that sort. And that's the cool part. That's what's really, really cool. And
That's wild to me. That's wild. Like, because I've been coaching at Perrysburg or football for, I think, the past 13 years, but just the 5 years as a varsity coach. And like, when that happens, like, wait, that kid I coached has a kid? Like, that's wild to me.
Wait till you start coaching their kids.
I know.
True. I'm telling you, it happens faster than you know it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about the upside about being a middle school coach and teacher, of having them for a couple years. The downside is you might have that kid that you're just really waiting for them to come out of their shell, turn their life into a positive. Maybe they weren't they didn't have it as a 7th grader or an 8th grader, but that's there. For us, the hard part is trying to see them that far down the road.
Yeah.
We don't get to see some of the I guess the end products as quick, because we have them younger. And so it's kind of a catch-22 sometimes. At least for me, I can say for myself, is like I was just talking to a student today, and he has so much potential, but he can't get out of his own way.
Mhm.
And I think he's going to do very well, but it makes me nervous knowing that he's going to walk into high school for the next 4 years. And this is nothing, but it's high school. It's, I'm not saying their principals or counselors are going to leave him be, or who knows, but he scares me, and knowing that I don't know what's going to happen to him in 5 years from now. And
especially because you don't have, once they're gone, you don't have a direct effect on that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. So it's kind of that's why I loved it when I was teaching junior high kids, but then I was coaching high school baseball.
Oh yeah.
At the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm sure my buddy Kurt Wells will listen to this. He always speaks. He would always talk about you. I think he recommended you for the podcast one time too. So yeah.
Well, Kurt, I'll tell you what, he's one of the best players I've ever coached. Baseball players. Oh, for sure.
He's a good dude. He's one of my best friends. Even now, like we will still talk and text. And he was in town, I don't know, about a month ago for our reunion, and came out to my park and stuff where I work, and I saw his little boy Elliot and his wife Kelly. So it's cool, because I always tell my friends, like, I feel like we're all almost 40, and I feel like especially when we get together, we're like 18.
Oh, and it don't change. I'm almost 50, and we're the same way.
Yeah.
And I was very disappointed because Kurt got inducted into the Perrysburg Hall of Fame, and I was going to introduce him.
That's what he told me.
I was very honored by that, but then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And then it got all shifted off, and and we didn't know when it was going to happen and things, and it was all over the place. And then next thing I know, I think Leah had a volleyball tournament.
Yeah.
And I was out of town, and it was kind of like, and I knew he understand, but I still felt like I let the kid down. And I call him a kid because he's still a kid to me. And
we're almost 40, BC. We're almost 40.
Almost 40, but he's still a kid to me. And but like I said, he was just you go back to those, I call them the older days, when, the 2001s and 2s and 3s, athletes were just raised different. They were just built different. That's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. They're just, he was just a dog. Like, he just wanted to if the game was on the line, it was over. Like, whether he was on the mound or the ball was hit to him or he was at the plate, it was just over. Like,
what's crazy to me too is that he was that way, and he was the baby of the family. Like, that doesn't necessarily happen all the time like that. And his mom was the way that she was. Like in high school, we called her Crazy Karen all the time because,
Oh yeah.
but as we got older, like we realized, like I don't like the way she loved Kurt was what I could not understand it because we would see Kurt as a certain way, like man, you're a knucklehead, you can be an asshole sometimes, all this stuff, but man, like she loved him so much, was at everything and videotape things and all this stuff. And I think like, but that's just what moms, specifically moms. I think parents will do that, but specifically moms. Like I had a brother who died. He was into drugs his entire life, and he died from a drug overdose. My mom and dad like never changed with how they loved him. They had to treat him differently at certain points in his life. But
Yep.
like as his brother, I immediately could cut it off. Like, no, I'm good, man. See ya. And
Yeah.
but they didn't do that. And that's how Kurt's mom was. Like, and Kurt wasn't a bad kid. Like he was a good kid. But it was crazy to me like how involved she was in his life.
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And like I said, I think about a lot of those kids that I had back in them at those days and stuff like that. And it's just like I said, it's really cool to see them grow up and become dads. And it's a little bit easier now seeing them kind of grow up because of like social media.
Oh
Where
yeah.
you have you see a picture of them putting their kids on there and stuff like that. But it's cool. It's
Yeah.
really neat. It really is.
I tell you what, when we were seniors and they you guys went to the state Final Four, that was some of the most fun I had as a high school student. Like our senior year, our football team was terrible. We were 2-8. I had fun. I had fun with my buddies. I played basketball for CYO basketball. Me and Kurt played for St. Rose. That was a lot of fun too. I did track. H was one of my favorite coaches I ever coached. But man, going to all those games, following our our two of our best friends were Adam Gumpf and Kurt, and we would pack in a car. There'd be 5 of us in the car just going to these games everywhere, and it was so much fun watching them and be excited. And I remember when we were in the state Final Four, we stayed with one of our friends, his uncle, and they ended up being like 15 kids at this one house and doing things we shouldn't have done. And he comes down the stairs and we're all scattered in the living room like it's a zombie apocalypse. We're just all laying down, passed out. And but those memories are so cool. And I never really thought like the way that was possible is because we had 2 best friends who played baseball and the baseball team was really good. Like we had nothing to do with it. We were just along for the ride. And it was such a good time.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, I go back to that team. You could think about that team because you talk about the Wells, Gumps, Caleveros. And again, I mean, I can go on and on. They're just good. They're just good kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were just good kids that love baseball. And the thing about baseball compared to football is we've always said this, very, very unique. That team and then the team in 2011, I think it was, when we went back down there and lost in the state semifinals, or state finals. Sorry, we lost in state finals. Baseball, you don't win with seniors.
Yeah.
You win with juniors because if they're not baseball players by their senior year and they're not really diehard baseball players, they check out because it's prom, it's graduation, it's parties, it's all that stuff. And both of those 2 teams were very senior oriented, but they were baseball players. And that was the complete difference. Because we had some other teams over the years that I think talent-wise could have maybe gave those teams run for their monies, but they weren't dedicated to the game of baseball like those 2 teams were.
Yeah, and I remember that my senior year there was 8 of the 9 starters were seniors. And then I think Brent Register was the other one, the lone non-senior. So because you're right, there's so many more things that they could be thinking about. And even day of graduation, we all show up late because we were at the game, watching them win whatever regional or district. I don't know what it was, but we some final that we watched.
I believe we were at Carter Park playing in like the district finals or something like that. Just something like that.
Yeah. I just remember showing up late. I mean, they had an excuse. I guess that was our excuse too, but we didn't actually play. We were just there. But I love that kind of stuff. And I still try to do it. Like try to go to their other games. I was talking to Zach Schroeder today. I'm like, I got to make it to one of your lacrosse games. Like I like seeing these guys do other things, and taking my kids to see all these different things. It's fun. I mean, our kids' first college football game was Heidelberg versus Adrian at Adrian. Like they have yet to experience a football game where there's over 5,000 people. Like that's what they think college football is. We've seen 3 Heidelberg football games, but they love it. It's fun.
But but like I said, they love it because, and it's probably even more relaxing for you as a parent because you don't have to worry about, I mean, God, my kids are older. And I'm nervous taking down to Columbus.
Yeah.
Because of 200,000 people. And, and so.
Heidelberg's cool too because I don't know if you've ever been to the football stadium. We didn't even buy tickets to go in. There's like a hill. You can sit on the hill outside of the stadium and watch the game. And then at halftime, our kids made it down to the field, and they made it onto the track, and we're standing probably 10 feet behind the goalpost, just right there at the game. I'm like, all right, cool. They're taking pictures with the mascot down there, catching the field goals, the extra points. It's a totally different ball game, and they loved it. I think they'd much rather do that than, we went to the University of Cincinnati this year to watch a game because Lillian was twirling baton at halftime, and it was 1,000 degrees, and we were in the direct sun, and it was such a big stadium, and I think Mateo liked it because he just loves football. But lucky for us, we got to go on the field at halftime and watch everything from there, and then we took off. But yeah, that small environment is so perfect, like you said, for parents, because when you can see your kids walk around the entire stadium and keep an eye on them, it makes it feel a lot better.
Absolutely, because they don't want to sit there and just watch the game.
No.
They
want to do other stuff.
Correct.
Yeah. Regardless if they know anybody or not, they'll make friends somewhere.
Yes, they will.
And this one was apparently their friend was the goalpost on this night because that's where they're hanging out. Well, I won't keep you guys longer than an hour. I do appreciate you both coming on, having a good conversation. When these podcasts happen like this, like I'm trying to get more of conversations as opposed to just interviews, which will happen when I have repeat guests. That's just the nature of it. So I appreciate this conversation. It was really fun. Thanks for inviting BC on, Sarah, because it was cool. I appreciate you both coming on here. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure, man.
We enjoy it.
Yeah, I know you and we don't know each other that well. We know each other a little bit, but she always speaks very highly of you. And she looked at me and she was like, "You want to do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care. Like I said, I'll talk."
He's more entertaining than me.
No, you're fine. Well, you got to, at least that was when in my early days when I had that stupid little basketball game in my garage.
Oh
yeah.
Dude, she was so pissed off about that thing. She would sit there and she was like, she came home that night and she goes, "I don't think I did very good on that. And somebody's going to beat my score." And then and
all the stuff. That's what you're talking about.
And then she's like, "We got to get one because if he asks me to go back on, I got to practice because I'm not going to go back on there and embarrass myself." And I'm sitting here going like, "Oh my God." Like, Lorenzo, I swear to God, it's a true stories. Like she seriously wanted to go buy one because she was afraid that you were going to put her back on there. And
I didn't want to lose.
And she didn't want to lose. And she wanted to practice. So she almost went and bought a Papa shot.
I understand. My daughter's super competitive and I hate playing shoots and ladders with her. It's terrifying.
So just for a record, if you get it again and I end up buying a Papa shot, don't get upset if I send you a receipt. You don't know what it's for.
Yeah. Terrifying Sarah. That's what it's for.
We give her a bunch of hard times and about that stuff, but I'll just say it one more time. I'm very proud of her. Like I said, it's it's not easy to coach. Like I said, 20 years in the same district, being that successful, the relationships and stuff that she's built. She's her worst critic. Yeah. She is by far her worst critic. I'm pretty proud of her. I really am.
Well, good. I'm proud of you, Sarah. And this also made it the second time you were on the podcast and you didn't win an NL title. I remember that was the first thing you talked about. You're like, all these years you could have been on, I could talk about a championship team. And now the second time you're on, you still can't talk about a championship team.
I know.
Hey,
get it. Got it.
Get it together.
I know, right? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, man. Have a good night, buddy.
Yep, you too. Thanks again to my guests, Sara Cannon and Brian Cannon, BC, as I was yelled about, for coming on the podcast today. Sara, again, like I said at the beginning, Sara was one of the early guests I had on the podcast back in the day when I had a Papa Shot in my garage where I would have my guests do it and I would record it. There's a lot of things like, you know, I try to do different things and learn different things and see what works and just little gimmicks here and there. And sometimes they stuck around, sometimes they did it. And now this is what the podcast is. And it's really fun. I really enjoy it. So they were great stories, the storytelling that they shared, you know, talking about raising kids. That's for me, that's always fun because I have kids and I really enjoy talking about them. So that's always fun to talk about. And obviously Sara and her volleyball, talked to BC when he coached one of my good friends, Kurt and Adam, when we were in high school. Just a great conversation. So thanks again to Sara and BC for coming on. Thanks to all of you for liking, sharing, subscribing, downloading. Check out the YouTube page. Just search the Nerdball Podcast. You'll see my face pop up with the black and red logo. Click on it, hit subscribe. Let's get it up to 150. Let's make a goal of 150. Maybe I can give something away. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I have to offer. I think I still got some t-shirts. So if we can get to 150, maybe I'll do a drawing of the 150 subscribers and see if somebody would like a shirt. It'll be free and I'll send it to you. So let's get to 150. Tell your friends, share that link, see if we can get 150 subscribers. Let's see how many times I can say 150. Reach out to the podcast at the nerdballpodcast@gmail.com. As always, you can check out 3 different dads once a week. Me, Tyler, Jim, talk about whatever we want to talk about because it's our podcast. Sometimes dad stuff, sometimes sports, whatever. It's just whatever. And we have fun. And we have great super fans over there interacting with the podcast. So check that out. Three different dads on all social medias. The Nerdball Podcast on all social medias. As always, thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cut of Fish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM Lab, and Big Daddy Graphics for always helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.